Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Samurai Goddess. The goddess next door takes on kung fu killers in this action-packed martial arts Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Samurai Goddess in paperback and e-readers today. Over the last 2 years, Marvel Comics has said that it had to go on a so-called diversity campaign because they were not representing characters of color in their comics. And they said they had to replace many of their white male characters with characters of color and women because they wanted to better diversify their catalog. And when I look at the Marvel Universe from a panoramic perspective as a reader of comic books for over the last 30 years, I can clearly see how diverse the Marvel Universe was before they decided to replace major white male characters like Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, the Hulk, and Thor with an Asian Hulk, a black Spider-Man, a black female Iron Man, a black Captain America, a white female Thor, and a Hispanic America Chavez. Because all I have to do is look in something like my official handbook of the Marvel Universe or look in many of my Marvel comics to find great characters of color who were a part of the Marvel Universe and part of the Marvel catalog for years. I can point out many examples of these characters because I've read Marvel comics over the last 25, 30 years, and I can go to storylines like the Captain or the Captain America No More, and I can find the black superhero Battlestar who worked with the John Walker Captain America. Now, this character has not been seen for many years, and I can also look at Dr. Bill Foster, even though he was killed in Civil War, who was the Giant Man, the Black Giant Man for many years, and the Black Goliath, another black character who had not been used for many years. And I can look in Alpha Flight and find a Canadian black superhero called Windshear, whom no one has talked about for many years, and a Thunderbolt called Charcoal, who I think is dead now, but he was a major black superhero for many years. And I can go into old Busiek Perez Avengers books and find Triathlon, and I can also find Night Thrasher and Silhouette, who were in the New Warriors, and Night Thrasher himself carried his own book. And I can go back to old Avengers books and find the Asian superhero Mantis, and I can go to a Shang-Chi Master of Kung Fu who carried his own book for over 100 issues. And the popular X-Man Jubilee, who was a popular Asian character for many years. And I can also look at Hispanic characters like White Tiger, Living Lightning, Firebird, and Silverclaw, Silverclaw herself, who was a part of that Busiek Perez run. And when it comes down to Muslim superheroes, do we really need Kamala Khan when there was Dust, who was a major part of the X-Men, a Muslim superhero who wore the traditional Muslim hijab and wore the traditional black covering and was a major part of the X-Men for several storylines. And nobody wants to use those characters. No, people at Marvel these days don't say that those characters are part of diversity. No, they want to go out and diversify by replacing the white male popular lead characters with minority characters that have not been transitioned in organically into the role of being a hero. And the reason why people have rejected these characters is not due to the color of their skin, but the content of their character, because these characters have not gone through the obstacles that make a hero. They have not gone through a character transformation arc that allows readers to relate to and identify with them. No, these are just characters who are there to meet an affirmative action standard for being a minority, but they do not have a major story that allows the reader to be compelled to keep reading them. And when I look at these minority characters and I compare them to many of the characters that are a part of the list of heroes that I talked about that have been a part of the Marvel Universe for many years, they just don't measure up, because those minority characters, when they were created, creators went out of their way to give them depth, to give them substance, and to make them characters that people didn't see the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Yes, they were minority characters, but they were great characters because we could relate to them and relate to their struggles and relate to their story. And any good creator would take any of those characters that I mentioned that have been a part of the Marvel Universe for many years and try to do something with those characters, because they would say to themselves, look, there's all these great minority characters sitting here. I don't need to reinvent the wheel by creating an Asian Hulk, a female Thor, or a black Captain America, when there's a Battlestar sitting there that hasn't been used in about 15, 20 years, or a Silverclaw that's been sitting there for a good 16, 17 years, waiting for a story. But because SJWs don't want to go out here and do the research on the Marvel Universe, do the research on the characters of the Marvel Universe, or do the research on the history of the Marvel Universe, what they want to do is create these characters and say that they're making history when all they're doing is making a mess. Because if they were to go and dig deep into those mythos and dig deep into those histories, they would find lots of great characters of color to use in their stories and lots of great tales to tell. But because they don't want to learn the craft of creating comics, learn the craft of storytelling, and learn the craft of art, they don't want to do that type of work. So they decide they're going to rewrite the Marvel Universe and rewrite history and try to fit their own characters in, when that's not what a good creator does. If there's a great catalog of characters, they go out and use what's already there and then try to develop those characters in an organic fashion. And if they don't want to use those characters, then they go out and create their own. They don't go around trying to shoehorn diversity tags onto characters where they don't fit. And the reason why they don't fit is because it just doesn't work. I mean, you cannot take a icon like Captain America and then just say anybody can be Captain America. I remember when I read the original Captain America No More storyline by Mark Gruenwald back in the 80s, the point that he was trying to prove with the John Walker Captain America, another white male with his Battlestar partner, was this: that not anyone could be Captain America, that there was something special about Steve Rogers that made him Captain America. And that's why John Walker failed to meet the standard. He literally almost went insane because he could not meet that standard. And after his parents got killed, he literally went berserk because he just felt so frustrated that he could not meet the standard that Steve Rogers established for Captain America. And the same thing with Jim Rhodes when he became Iron Man. He really went through a lot of struggles and frustrations and trying to meet that standard, but eventually he realized to a point he couldn't meet that standard, and that was one of the reasons why he literally stopped wearing the armor for a while before he became War Machine, because he felt so frustrated that he couldn't meet those roles. So I understood reading those comics back in the 80s, where they did give you these replacement heroes back in the 80s, why these heroes were important, why their missions were important, and why their standards were so high. And what these SJWs don't understand is that they are trying to force diversity on people, and the way they're doing it is making it where you're not seeing the content of a character or a transformation arc like we did with the John Walker or the Jim Rhodes. All we're seeing is people like your Riri Williams or your Amadeus Cho or your Jane Foster, and they're just not coming together in an organic fashion. They're not working out, and many readers just don't want to read these stories because many of them are poorly written. They're not researched and studying the history of the Marvel Universe and finding what fits into the Marvel Universe. They just come from somebody who doesn't know comics, doesn't care about comics, and only wants to push an agenda. And that's not what comics are all about. You're trying to get, what many of these SJWs want to do is give you a problem, but the whole medium of comic books is meant to be an escape. And they're sitting there trying to tell you that they're going to push minorities into roles that don't fit them because they're too lazy to go out here and do that research like a guy like me would do when we're going out to write stories. Because in order to write great characters and great stories, you have to go out and do the research. And in order to write characters in the Marvel Universe, you have to do research on their histories, their backstories. You have to study what the creators were thinking. You have to study the backgrounds of things. And the SJWs who work at Marvel right now, many of the editors, they don't want to do that type of work. Many of the writers don't want to do that type of work because that type of work, it takes a long time, and that also takes time out of your day. I mean, it takes hours of research before you can write a single word, and people don't want to do that type of research, and that's why many of the comics at Marvel are so bad, because if those writers were and those editors were to go and look into the archives of the Marvel Universe, they would clearly see that the Marvel Universe is one of the most diverse places in fantasy and science fiction already, and they would be going to go dig deep into that catalog to take a D-list or C-list character to a higher level and not try to shoehorn diversity in a place where it doesn't fit. If you want to read some great African American fantasy, you can go to Amazon.com by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to see me make more videos, you can click the link to my Patreon and donate $1 there. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.